Hey, what's going on, everybody? Just another month here at Bad Anime Podcast, except for it isn't, baby, because we got a whole month of Hideakianno to get through. That's right, this month is Anno month. If you do not know Hideakianno, he's the legendary creator of Neon Genesis Evangelion and all of the Evangelions to follow. And although Evangelion will be on the top of our list to tackle this month, the final week we have reserved for a separate show directed by Hideakianno before Neon Genesis Evangelion. Ain't that fun? So happy Anno month, you kids. Enjoy the show, or whatever it is, the audio presentation, something like that. What is on Shinji's hand?
It's bad. Anime. Bruh.
Hey everybody, I'm John.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Bad Anime, the podcast where we decide, is this anime bad? And again, we want to put a disclaimer.
We're still going this.
On this, we're doing the End of Evangelion today,
Yes,
and it is by no way, Jose, bad. It is very good. It is very good, and we love it. We're talking about if it holds up or not, and this is a continuation
Of the first two parts.
Yes, which we hopefully have uploaded. I hope, God.
If we did, I mean, it'd be very interesting if we did this in reverse.
It would be just out of context and out of character.
Yeah,
Generally.
It wouldn't be good.
Would
Anyway,
not be a good look.
so the End of Evangelion, the 1997 film.
Yes.
From the same people who brought you the TV series. This is a supplemental ending. Mm-hmm. It is both the ending of this and the TV show are canonical. Since we mentioned the end of the TV show is kind of a fun art housey mess, people wanted a more concrete version of the ending.
Like me.
Like you.
As we explained before, I'm definitely of the mind that I wanted the details of the plot. You could have gone either way about it.
I'm the opposite direction.
Yeah.
I'm like, details, whatever. I
Right,
got the
whatever.
gist.
But
I care about the characters way more than the narrative, where you put them on the same pedestal.
I put them on the same pedestal. I wanted to see an ending for all of it.
Right.
I was happy to know. Let's backtrack a little bit. Like,
Sure.
When we talked about watching Evangelion, you were like, okay, you got to watch Eva, right?
Yes.
And then you got to watch the end of Eva, the movie
Of course.
afterwards. I was like, boy, that sounds like a lot of work, right? I got to watch the series, and then
A movie.
I got to watch a movie. And then when I finished the series, I was like, I'm going to fucking watch that movie. I gotta. I mean, like...
There is some great context also to how you watch this for the first time.
Yes, let's talk about that. How much time passed between you finishing the series and you watching the movie?
A night of sleep, so 6 to 8 hours.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd love to know that.
Yeah.
You
had to sit on it for a
had
little
a bit
while.
of a different experience. As I said, I mentioned in the first part, I watched Evangelion, the full series over a Labor Day weekend in 2021, right?
Almost the entire thing, but you couldn't finish it until that Tuesday.
Yes, where you called me when I was 9 minutes away from being done.
Finishing the series, and then I hung up because I'm like, I cannot disrupt my friend in this time.
Exactly. Thank you for that once again.
No, of course.
Not
an asshole.
I waited a few weeks, kind of because I just didn't have the time to like sit down and watch an hour and a half movie, or maybe I just wasn't emotionally ready. But
it took you several days to process the ending of the TV series.
It took me a while.
We talked about it. I would see you we would just be hanging out with people, and you would just kind of quiet. I'm like, "You all right?" And you're like, "Fucking nerve,
nerve, fucking nerve." Yeah, and Sele, whatever, guys.
Hey,
right.
At least in this movie, we finally got to explore the two and their differences in ideology.
Thank you so much, everybody. God,
You look drained.
I needed something from this movie.
Yeah.
I got something, which is more than I thought I'd get, so I'm happy about it.
But back to the context.
Right? Yeah, I watched, finished it Labor Day weekend a little bit after on that Tuesday, right? The weekend after, I went to Seattle.
Right.
For my cousin's wedding. Got there, flew in on a Friday night, wanted to download the movie so that I could watch it on the plane. But Netflix, for some reason, doesn't let you download things anymore. They used to,
so I don't know.
They only let me on my phone, and I'm like, I'm not watching this on my phone. I want to get my laptop or bust, honestly.
Exactly.
And talk about bust.
Talk about bust.
First scene. Anyway.
Oh, yes, I can't wait to dive into that.
Yeah, but sure. I got to Seattle. And I, went to get some drinks with my cousin and some family and stuff.
Yep.
I hadn't eaten dinner. All I had was a lot of...
You always forget to eat dinner.
I forget. I had a lot of cheese.
You go to bed for dinner.
I went to bed for dinner, yeah. I had a lot of cheese. I had a lot of salami. And I was feeling pretty drunk. I was pretty drunk. So then I got back to our hotel, and then I was like, it was maybe 1 a.m.
Yeah.
But I was really drunk and I was really tired, but I was like, I just gotta know. Because I just got off, like, I left New York at like 8 o'clock. And, I got there maybe, I don't know what time I got there, but it was late. It was late, and I stayed up late, and I was really tired. I had a whole crazy day at work that day, too.
And I'll never forget, because you texted me saying you're about to watch it. And it was 3 a.m. Eastern time, so it would have been midnight or so Pacific.
Yeah, but my jet lagged ass. Like,
your jet lagged ass
it's
as
3
well.
a.m.
So it's, you feel like it's 3 a.m. even though it's midnight.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you're drunk and you're gonna finish this tonight. And there was one or two misspellings in the text, and I was at work, so but luckily it was like right before we wrap up for the night. So I was staring at my phone in a crossroads of life, not knowing what to do, because I'm never gonna tell anyone. I'm never gonna tell anyone to not watch the End of Evangelion, but since you were drunk, I'm like, I don't know if you should watch it for your first time drunk, because I watched it for the first time sober as a bird after waking up, and I could barely process what was going on. So I'm imagining you after a few drinskies, and I'm like, oh, this might be tough.
It wasn't even just drinskies. I can't even pronounce that word. It was wine. I had a lot of wine.
Oh, that's your killer.
Boy,
that is your killer.
Oh, man. I had like about 4 to 5 glasses of red. Boy, I was, because usually 2 will put me out.
Yeah.
I mean, as I've expressed to you multiple times, I could take about, like 5 shots of tequila, a few beers, be all right. All right. Yeah. 2 glasses of wine, I'm on my ass.
Yeah,
it's it for me.
It dehydrates you and you're done.
Oh, I'm done. So I had about 5.
Okay.
And then I went home to watch End of Evangelion. So that my first watch of Evangelion, I was very much in a very drunk, sleepy stupor.
Yes.
Finished it, thankfully. I honestly, kudos to myself for being able to do that.
Good job.
But finished it and had a lot of thoughts about it. Then the other night, I rewatched it.
Good.
I could have missed some scenes. I think I missed a few scenes overall.
Don't blame you.
In my rewatch.
Because let's break it down. Because the End of Eva, how it works, it's 2 halves, 2 distinct halves. They split it up into episode 25 and 26. Like I said, it's a parallel ending.
Right.
So they want to say, hey, okay, this is what happened during 25. This is what happened during 26.
Right.
Each part is roughly 40 minutes and change, so it comes out to an hour and a half film.
Yes.
The first scene, the only thing I told you before, I was like, yeah, the first scene's a banger. You're going to want to see this.
Yeah, you were like, check out the first scene of this movie, man. It's really cool. You're gonna really like it.
Yeah, I was very excited.
It was the debut of my favorite Wild West villain, Come Hand Shinji, because wow, he rode into there, that one horse town, and just
Asuka was passed out, and
Lord.
What made it more disturbing is Shinji was trying to wake up Asuka after, like, they found her and hooked her up to the devices because of her, like, they found her in the, like, she was near death because she was comatose because, she was so depressed.
Mm-hmm.
She was letting herself die. Was it an intentional suicide or just was it a side effect of depression? Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
That's never really addressed because, that's a touchy subject to begin with.
Yeah. And
so they have her hooked up to all the IVs and the electro thingies, and Shinji's trying to wake her up. He's shaking her. She's on her side sleeping. And he's like begging her, like, call me an idiot, please. Like, I need you. Wake up. And he accidentally turns her over. And, she's in hospital gowns, kind of, and like a loose shirt. So her chest pops out.
Yep.
And we as the audience see all of it. I'm like, okay, some balls already for showing us a naked 14-year-old's chest. Okay.
Jeez.
Okay, yep. Okay, already has some balls.
Like, oh, boy.
I thought that was the extent of the balls. Then the camera cuts to the wall. And you hear Shinji breathing rather deeply.
Yes. And more heavily as the minute goes on.
And yep, and it feels like it's building to something. Perhaps a climax of some sorts. And there certainly was a climax when we lost it. When we cut to Shinji's hand and it's full of thick white ropey strands of cum.
Oh,
this episode is going to be. We got to put a disclaimer on this one or something.
Yeah, geez, there's got to be something up top we got to make after this.
Exactly. We'll record that afterwards. After 6 more beers apiece.
But yeah,
that was the first scene.
Oh,
Was Shinji in trying to wake up Asuka started cranking it next to her unconscious body, and just, I mean, I like I mentioned in the first two parts, Shinji is just a confused, broken boy. At one point, he just wants to be consoled by he wants to be consoled by someone who berates him.
Mm-hmm.
He wants that familiarity. He wants that comfort.
Yeah.
But then he starts jerking off next to her unconscious body.
He's the lowest of the low.
That's exactly what he was.
Mm-hmm.
But Ew. Sorry, I'll stop.
But something that
Sorry.
something that really came across in that one scene and throughout the movie was Shinji asking Asuka to help him.
Yes.
He was like, "Help me, Asuka. Help me, Asuka." And then they go into visions later in the movie when, you know, they're in the kitchen of their estranged
That was
home.
in part 26, I believe, right?
Yes, part 26, where they're just kind
Second
of like tangling around, and Shinji's like, "Help me," and she's
need
like,
you, yeah.
"No, I won't help you." And he like starts throwing chairs and stuff and like flipping
It's very
tables.
very much an abusive relationship.
And he's like, "Why won't you help me? You have to help me." Yeah. And it's so strange because I don't necessarily know what he wants help with.
He doesn't know either. That's the point. He doesn't know. He has no idea what he wants, and he's a kid struggling, especially by that point. Because I want to take this a little more chronologically.
Yeah, no, please, let's do it. I just brought that up because
of course. We'll bring
that's a through line to the movie.
It's a huge through line, especially, and we'll get to the end in a second. The reason I want to bring it up chronologically is because as for Evangelion the series, I knew the minute I finished episode 26, I was a 10 out of 10 for me. I got through the first half of the movie before I gave it a 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Because part 25, the first half of the movie, was a fucking roller coaster of human emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I was floored 7 or 8 times in that 40-minute stretch.
Yeah.
Fucking Shinji going, public masturbator all over his unconscious.
Yeah.
And then we see that since the angels have all been defeated, the uneasy alliance between Seele and Nerve is completely fallen apart.
Yes.
Because they're working together because they both want instrumentality to occur, but we realized they had different ends.
Mm-hmm.
Seele was very much, kind of just like burn everything to the ground, and reset. It's like, all right, humanity's fucked. Burn it all down. Let's reset this thing. Gendo just wants to be reunited with his wife again. That's his only goal. So in his mind, he saw instrumentality as a way to merge him and Yui's consciousness together again.
Yes.
And maybe even do a better job looking after Shinji. We'll get to more as Gendo's little scene towards the end. That happened. And so what's going on now is, I think it was the Japanese Defense Force and combination with Seele are like, all right, charge Nerve. They're trying to kill everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So they go in, guns a-blazing, and just start brutally gunning down all the Nerve staff. And it's way gorier than anything we've seen up to this point.
Yep.
Masato and crew are freaking out. Ritsuko's in the back working, trying to get the computer up and running. But that's when we concretely realize again, like, okay, her mom is the
Magi.
Yeah. So she's operating, trying to get everything working while they're being bombarded by fucking Seele or JDF forces.
Yeah.
And Masato's freaking out, like, where the hell are the 2 pilots? Then they realize, okay, Shinji is a little preoccupied.
Yeah.
Being depressed and whatnot, and Asuka's in a coma.
Yeah.
And I love when fucking Masato's like, all right, throw Asuka into the
in Unit 2.
In Unit 2 is like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
she's in a coma.
Take her unconscious body, throw in Unit 2, and we'll keep it at the bottom of the lake.
Exactly. Yes. And then
excuse me. What is going on here, friends?
And then Shinji's like, all right, I'll go grab Shinji. Because they couldn't get to him for whatever means.
And she goes to get Shinji.
And there's a great scene in the middle where this is it again, I loved Ava as a mech, but also I love Ava as an action show because it was a great scene from an action standpoint alone. I refer to it as a solo save where they do this a lot in Japanese live action films and shows, and they did it most famously in Star Wars. Because in Star Wars there's a very famous scene, Luke's going down the trenches of the Death Star. You have Vader and the 2 TIE fighter pilots behind him. You think Luke's boned, but then one of the pilots gets shot down. Vader does the what? And then Han Solo's there in the Falcon making the save.
Yeah.
They use that all the time in Toku, where it's like, it'll be either a group of civilians or a team of Rangers about to get like squashed by a monster. The monster and the cronies get shot. They turn like, what? And the new hero's there.
Yes.
Either the team itself saving civilians or the 6th Ranger making their big debut. I always refer to it as a solo save because Han Solo is the most famous example of that shot. Masato pulls one off here.
She does.
They have 3 officers have a gun to Shinji's head. It's like, sorry, kid. That one gets shot down. The other 2, what? Masato charging down the hallway with a pistol and doesn't even shoot one of them. She drop kicks him first and then shoots him.
Completely armorless.
Yes.
In like a fucking tank top.
Yeah, in
she
her
comes
tank top and
down with a
jacket.
pistol, just shooting at these guys. Eventually kills like both of them, I think.
All 3 of them, yeah.
But not without getting shot herself eventually.
Oh, that's later.
That's a little later.
That's later.
When she drags Shinji through. Because the whole time, this was a weird sequence to me.
Okay.
Because Misato finds Shinji.
Yeah.
And when she gets Shinji, I feel like we're transported back to the first 10 episodes of the series, where Shinji doesn't want to pilot the thing.
Oh, well, because like remember,
And
at this
it's a
point,
push and
he
pull.
just killed Karu,
Yes.
so he's
distraught.
totally.
Yeah. And it's a big push-pull.
And he just jerked off over Asuka.
Yeah.
So,
So he's feeling pretty bad right
yeah, so
about
he's going
now.
through a lot. I
He's-
totally
he ain't-
get him
he ain't doing
reverting.
too hot. Yeah.
So he's going through a rough time.
And Misato's trying to convince him to get into Unit 1 and kind of save the day.
And well, at first she's like, "You can't die here."
Yeah.
And she said, like, get in Ava 1, then die.
Yeah.
And because she's just fed up with him.
Yeah.
And well, because like at that point she doesn't know what else to do.
And at that
Everyone's
time,
gonna die unless Shinji does something.
Right. And at that time, the plot kind of comes in a little bit.
Yeah.
Because Misato finally just gives us a brief explanation of some things. And she's like, all right, there's this guy, there's Adam, there's Lilith, there's the descendants of Adam, there's the descendants of Lilith, which are humans. There's Adam's descendants are angels, blah, blah, blah. Either way, Shinji, you got to get in this thing. And we gotta get it going. Because if you do nothing, everybody's going to die.
Exactly.
And including yourself.
Right.
So that kind of eventually, even after he leaves Misato, he doesn't exactly feel the need to pilot the Ava.
Yeah, at first, and he also finds the Ava covered in like all the debris and shit, so he can't even envision getting it out. But luckily, his mother's soul's in it, so
The Ava just gets him.
Yep.
Which is the funniest
that's
part.
Yui.
The Ava just breaks out, and oh my god, one of the numerous things in the show that are Yui. The Ava gets him and just grabs the boy.
But we have to backtrack a little bit, because we're skipping over a scene that shook me.
Very important scene.
It shook me when I first saw it because I did not think. I mean, I shouldn't have been surprised because Ava cranked one out over his unconscious friend, but Masato's leading Shinji through the caverns of Nerve HQ. She gets shot. She no-sells it. Shinji realizes, she might die in a minute. Masato pins Shinji against like an elevator cage as the elevator's coming up. And she softens a lot. Where it's like, it's up to you now, Shinji. You're on your own. It's very touching at first. Like, it's very... And she gives, Shinji her cross necklace, much like her father did to her.
Yes.
And at first, I thought it was a great parental scene. It's like, you're on your own. I have to leave you now. You have to grow up. I thought that's what they were going for. I thought at first, it's a very touching mother helping out their son moments. She, at the end of the day, she tried her best to be a surrogate mother and maybe is succeeding. Until she just cups his cute little head in her face, head in her hands, and then just shoves her tongue down his throat.
Yep.
And then
they share a long, passionate kiss.
Yeah.
And then Misato says a line, which we could talk about for another hour, but
no, we have to say it right now. Then
she said, "What is the exact line?"
From the dub, at least, the exact line was, "That's how grown-ups kissed. That's how grown-ups kiss.
Yes.
I'll do the rest when you get back."
Okay. So,
wow, you look tired after I said that.
So obviously that means like after
Well,
Shinji
fuck.
gets back, we're gonna have sex.
Yes.
And like I'm gonna show you how adults have sex and stuff like that, and teach you that.
Yes.
Taken like mentor surrogate mother to a whole nother freaking level is Misato at this point. But the thing is
Because he's not good at it.
well, yeah, but the thing is about that is that I feel like at this point, Misato knows she's going to die.
Yes.
So maybe she's kind of giving Shinji something to be like, all right, I really got to get through this so I can fuck Misato.
Exactly.
Like I really got to get through this so that I can see that part of my life through, kind of.
Yeah, and as she's dying, she's wondering, did I do the right thing, Kaji? Because she knows exactly what she's doing. She's baiting him. She's hoping that Shinji gets in the robot just so he can fuck.
Just wild. Great trick to play in a 14-year-old for sure. Yeah,
they
come
don't
on.
think with their wieners anyway.
Right, yeah. So that was very interesting. And of course, Misato dies, which is that iconic scene that we see framed.
Yes.
At the end of Evangelion.
Yeah, the end of the series.
The end of the series, yes.
This gets confusing.
Sorry, that was a little confusing. But in episode 25, we do see that frame of Misato, the giant, blood streak on the wall behind her.
Yep.
So she does die. She is dead.
Very much dead.
Yeah.
Dead Zo.
Which is confirmed.
Yes.
And then Shinji, of course, gets to the Eva, which makes it get into him.
Well, it was the reason why he's doing that. We kind of lost our copy. We have to go backtrack a little bit because Asuka is going through her own journey.
Yeah, as
they
she
dump
is.
her in the Eva in the lake, and there is a very disturbing sequence where, because I think at this point she kind of snapped out of it a little bit, and she's realizing the gravitas situation where she's about to actually die this time, and she's like basically crying, holding herself, like holding her head in her hands. Can't see her face, and she's muttering the phrase, "I don't want to die."
Yeah, she keeps doing that for a very long time.
For it was like a minute.
And once again, this kind of goes up onto our mom shit board across this show.
Yeah.
Because she's in this Eva, right? That's basically like being in the womb of her mother.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
She's also in a fetal position.
Yes.
She's also very scared.
Right.
Perfect mom shit. Perfect instance of just lots of mom stuff going on.
A lot of mom stuff.
Yeah.
But in this instance, I can't even think about the preceding scene the following scene to her without crying. Because there is a moment where Asuka realizes that her mother was in the Eva the entire time.
And protecting her.
And just the glee when she says mommy in the dub at least. She just you see this broken girl for the first time feel some real happiness because she realizes, mother, you were here the whole time protecting me. I'm tearing up right now just thinking about it. To me, that's just fucking beautiful. Because at the end of the day, her mother was just an insane person. And my interpretation was, a mother's, and that, because there's a lot of different things about motherhood here. But in this particular scene, my grasp was it was a mother's love transcending the bounds of fucking death.
Yeah.
And that scene hit me really hard, especially the second time I watched it, because episode 25 in the first half of the end of Eva, it moves so fast.
It does.
That it didn't get me the first time, but the second time, you were about to come over. And I watched it again. And I had to stop myself because I was about to start crying because that scene hit a very deep nerve with me.
It's beautiful. It is very beautiful.
Beautiful scene.
When she kind of realizes that her mom has been by her side all along, which she's had so much trauma about.
Yeah, exactly.
And over the entire series, thinking about how her mother abandoned her and how her mother didn't love her and how her mother just didn't consider her a human being.
And that's the whole reason she really threw a lot of human connection to the side and any value in others except to achieve her own ends.
Yeah.
And because she's a little girl. She's still she's a teenager, but still at that age, even more so, you rely heavily on your parents. And that scene where she realized her mother was still there, especially when her and her father's relationship was very strained from the small glimpses we got of it. That was a fucking beautiful scene to me. And like I said, I'm purposely not thinking about it too much, or else I'm gonna start crying. I fucking adored that scene. And then we get a fun little fun's one way to say it. Then there's these mass-produced Evas that come after her. From, I think, courtesy of Sele, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, Sele built these mass-produced Evas. Yeah, all look exactly the same.
Autonomous Evas, yes. Yeah, so
autonomous Evas, dummy plugged.
Yep, all dummy plugged.
Yep.
So they operate alone, and they're like, "Hey, the world's gonna end if you don't destroy them all in the next 5 minutes."
And she
comes close.
She comes really close, but then they all, of course, come back up and revolt. But they actually, kind of in accordance with that, they fucking tear Unit 2 apart. Unit 2 is deconstructed from the outside in, and for the first time in the series, we see the inner workings of an Eva, and it's very human.
Well, no, we see a little bit of it before.
The anatomical parts of an Eva.
The actual insides.
Right, we see organs, and eyes, and all this crazy shit that I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is this thing? Actually, what is it?
Yep.
And these angels just rip apart and eat. They start eating it.
Yeah, they eat all the insides. They peel
it's so crazy.
They peel the armor off and start eating it.
Oh my god!
And Shinji eventually gets there.
Yeah.
He gets through his trials and tribulations, realizing he's too late.
Yeah.
And he just goes fucking.
He lets out a huge scream.
Yeah.
But it's pretty funny because, in a lot of other shows, I feel like you would see that, right? The protagonist comes up to see one of his really good friends harmed and then let out a big scream and start just like fucking shit up.
Yeah.
Shinji lets out a big scream and does nothing.
Yep.
He lets out a big scream and then quite the opposite. They all get him.
They all gang up on him.
And they all get him and kind of position him to trigger the third impact.
And that's at the start of episode the 26, yeah.
Yes, which is what... Okay.
And by the way, just very
continue.
small note, this is going to come back in later. I loved how they played the credits in the middle of the two parts.
It was cool. I was happy about that.
I'll say why more so when we get to the very end.
It was really cool.
But anyway, so they're using him as a tool to implement.
For the third impact. Because again... Not exactly fully explained in the show.
Yeah.
Hinted at a lot. But the Unit 1 is a very special unit of Eva.
Yes.
Because all the other units are considered to be descendants of Adam or considered to be built upon angels.
Yeah.
Unit 1 is built on Yui and Lilith energy.
Right.
So that combined with a descendant of Adam or Adam's embryo...
Can trigger
as we saw on Gendo's hand, would trigger the impact.
Yep.
Because that is the cell of Adam.
Yep.
And Adam touching Lilith means a third impact.
Yeah, and you get that great scene when Gendo because Rei is just naked again.
That was the wildest shit.
And then Gendo puts his hand on one of her teats, and then it sinks into her body, and then it breaks off, trying to initiate the third impact. Ritsuko shows up and tries to shoot him. There's some complications. The Magi, her mother, tries to protect Gendo instead of her.
Yeah.
And then Gendo just shoots her. And I'm like, Ritsuko, you're dead.
Ritsuko has been fucking Gendo. And so she feels betrayed. Mm-hmm. And then Ritsuko's mom... who is now the Magi, loves Gendo more than her own daughter.
Yes.
At least that is what I got from it.
That's what I got too.
Oh my God. And this man shot Ritsuko. Therefore, he has both had sex with two women and killed two women generationally. Gendo. What the fuck, Gendo?
Okay, this is a clumsy transition, but I have to bring this up as well because in the first half of the movie, there's the great scenes of the three main nerve commentators, I guess the operators, the glasses guy, long-haired guy, and the girl. Glasses guy and long-haired guy's like, all right, they just pull all the guns out of their drawer. All right, we're back. Let's get ready. The woman in that scene, she is having a breakdown.
Yeah.
She can't handle the fact that she's about to get shot up by a bunch of Sele or JDF people, and they're trying to give her a gun. It's like, you're gonna have to use this. And she's like, I can't. She's having a nervous breakdown. Yeah. And that was horrifying. But then we'll get back to them in a second. I had to plan that scene now because Rei does some interesting stuff in this.
Interesting is a very light way to put it.
It's very the lightest way I possibly could put it because she does something. She turns into how do we even phrase it? I mean,
it's like a Rei Lilith Yui sandwich being
with a hint of with a nice little Kaoru sauce thrown on top of it for a minute.
And of course, I feel like everybody completely downplays how fucking ridiculous it is there is just a giant fucking white Lilith in the basement of this geofront, pinned to a cross with a spear of Longinus in it.
Yeah.
I feel like every scene that's happened around that, nobody's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Guys, this thing is 80 feet tall, has a purple mask, and you don't know what it is. It's bubbly and white. Guys. And Gendo comes down, he's like, we're going to trigger the third impact. And everybody else is like, yeah, cool. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? What is this?
Yeah, what is this?
What is this?
Yep.
And yeah,
Come on,
I
Ray,
just
we
wanted
got
to
this.
say just real quick how in every scene that happens in that environment, there is nobody going like, whoa, so that's freaking crazy. So that's Lilith, huh?
The only one I think who did was Masato earlier on in the
Yeah.
series when Kaji was like, hey, check this shit out. She's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But either way, right. So Rei rejects Gendo, doesn't merge with him because Gendo has merged himself on his hand with the cell of Adam.
Right.
So that by proxy would trigger the third impact. And Gendo's idea of instrumentality.
Yes.
That does not happen. Rei rejects him, and Rei fuses instead with Lilith.
Right.
To fuse Yui and Lilith 2 parts.
Yep.
It's like I'm talking about a baking recipe over here. It's like 1 part Yui, 2 parts Lilith.
And 1 part cognac.
And a whole lot of white flour, apparently,
White
because this
flour.
thing just turns into a giant white blob resembling Rei.
Yep.
And first kills Gendo.
Yep.
Just for good measure, just to do that.
I mean, he deserved it.
And he deserved it. But by the time that he died, Gendo was very I guess we can talk about this now, right?
Oh, the Gendo scene? Where, like, he's laying down and reflecting?
Yes.
And where it feels like Gendo is trying to play the sympathy cards, like, I neglected Shinji because I wanted to protect him, because I knew I would only bring him pain. And then everyone around him, like, all the spirits around him, Rei and Kaoru, everyone else goes, no, you're just a bad person.
Yeah, and they're all just like, hey, shut up, man.
I
Honestly,
love that scene. I love that scene where they just went, no, you're just a asshole.
bro, you just kind of suck, dude.
You just suck.
But you also didn't have to generationally kill and fuck 2 different women. Like, you did
That's
not have
also
to
a
do.
big
You
thing.
all didn't. You didn't have to do any of that.
a lot of things Gendo didn't
Like that has nothing to do with Shinji, huh?
Gendo's gonna Gendo.
Yeah. But then what kind of happens when Rei merges with Lilith is this whole scene of people turning into that LCL fluid, right?
Yes.
Because human instrumentality has begun.
Right.
And even the people at Sele, we got a small scene of them turning into that fluid.
Into the goo.
And the idea behind that, as I've kind of trying to comprehend, is that life is painful.
Yeah.
Life is painful, life is hard. So Sele's mission is to have everybody turn into this LCL fluid so that they can all merge together and be one being, so nobody has to feel pain anymore.
Yes, exactly.
To be one collective conscious, exactly. So everybody's kind of going through that whole thing.
Right.
And right before they turn into LCL, they see the thing that they most desire.
Yeah.
And for Gendo, that is Yui, of course.
Yes, of course.
And he turns into LCL. We have, but then the fun part about those people that you brought up, the little narrators, the guy with the glasses sees Misato. The guy with the long hair, I don't remember who he saw exactly.
He sees Rei.
Rei. Yeah.
So the thing is, the other ones. So this is where I'm confused. Mm-hmm. Because the girl sees Ritsuko, which we'll get into in a second.
Which is so funny.
The girl
that
sees
was great.
Ritsuko, and the guy sees Masato. The glasses guy sees Masato, and they're both embracing them, like, "Oh my god, they're here." The long hair guy's just cowering in a corner, and Rei just kind of taps him.
Yep.
So, if you wanted to play detective, you can interpret that a few ways. You could say either the guy had no strong emotional attachment to anybody, so he just sees the actual form.
Yes.
Or, if you wanted to play detective here and read between the lines, you could say he's cowering in the corner and he's fully conscious of Rei because he might have had a thing for Rei the entire time.
Yeah.
And is afraid of the fact he's had feelings for Rei. It might be a little crackpot, but that's just my take.
No, I mean, it could go either way, genuinely.
Yeah. And I feel like a less hot take is the one with the girl and Ritsuko, like because basically the vision of Ritsuko just kind of like starts basically caressing her, and she's all about it.
She's all like, Dr. Akagi.
And then she melts to
And then she melts into Orange Punch.
Yeah.
Which, I mean...
So much orange soda.
Orange soda. Jesus. And then there are all these different Reis turning people into LCL. To the point where, like, the world becomes like a sea of LCL, but there are all these giant crosses that come up after everybody got claimed, I guess.
Yep.
And meanwhile, while all of this is happening, Shinji's just suspended in midair by all of these Avas, all these mass production Avas, waiting for, I guess, Rei to come in and make contact with him to trigger the third impact fully, right?
Yeah.
Which, of course, happens. And then everybody be turned into LCL at that point.
But there's a few really powerful scenes after the instrumentality begins, where at one point Anno kind of shits on his own fan base. Well, because there's the because I forgot who Shinji's having the conversation with. Was it Yui or Rei? but like they're talking about escapism. They're talking about having a dream versus escapism.
Yeah.
And there's like it shows people in a movie theater presumably watching.
That's right. That's
and
right.
It shows 3 girls in the streets of Tokyo, and then the same 3 girls in a different shot cosplaying as characters from Eva. And I'm just looking at it like, is Anno shitting on his fan base here?
I think he is.
Yeah, I think so.
Because
he got a lot of death threats.
he
after,
did get a lot of death threats.
because the original end of the
Because
TV
a lot
series.
of people had very passionate views about how it ended.
Yeah.
Kind of on the same lines that I did, but
Right.
not necessarily. I didn't necessarily have that much of an extent.
Exactly.
But you know, a lot of people were really, really into the plot elements and the detail elements behind it, and we're
And
kind of
Anno
mad.
didn't care.
And Anno did not care, but he did eventually make this movie.
And he answered some questions.
Yeah.
Because because for me, what sealed my interpretation of the movie was the scene immediately following after the one I just described, where it's Yui and Shinji having a dialogue, and Yui talking about how any place can be paradise. So basically telling Shinji, hey, you can reject instrumentality, and you can still build a future for yourself. You know who you are now. Your life is painful, but you're choosing to risk it to find greater happiness.
Yes.
Again, I think that's a beautiful message.
It's a beautiful message.
Because it's really in saying, hey, life's tough, but if you run away from it, you're not going to get anywhere.
And I love the overall message of that. And I think that really helped me characterize the end.
Yes.
The end of the series itself.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because that part of it was like, okay, like Shinji's choosing in this instance to live on.
Yeah.
And to kind of continue. But before we get to that, because I do want to deep dive into that, there is that kind of weird sequence at the end, right, where there's just giant Rei, who like is also giant Yui,
Yep.
who speaks to Shinji in this moment.
Yeah.
And everything just blows up and stuff, of course.
Yep.
And this is like an end of the world mentality a lot of the way.
Yeah, the very beautiful kind of uplifting song plays as the world is getting
Yeah,
destroyed.
it's very nice and uplifting. The song is, and it's funny because as the world is like becoming one, and there's also this weird time of these mass-produced Evas getting touched by the big Rei and turning into like Rei clones, but like Rei clones with like 20 faces and they like stab themselves with their own spears of Longinus, and they're all
smiling.
They all kind of orgasm a little bit when they do it, and I'm like, what's
There's
going
a scene
on?
where like
I was like, Anno, I was getting it.
forehead that gets the huge vagina on it.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
Not even like the debatable, but like the actual vagina with labia and clitoris.
Yep.
And it just stabs a spear in there.
And I was like, all right, Anno, what are you doing here? All right, buddy. Because you had me for a second.
Yeah,
and
that one got real on the
And
nose.
I was like, all right, what is going on, everybody?
Right.
So that part was just really weird, and there's no explanation for it.
But great.
Weird, but great. There was no explanation. At least I don't think there was.
I got a little lost.
And
But I guess it was the only thing
yeah.
I can really glean from it is maybe it's Rei just assuring that her vision of instrumentality occurs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did also like, and after that whole sequence happens, right? Everybody like falls down. Shinji goes into a mental state a bit and kind of does a little more of like what we saw at the end of 25-26, where he kind of has that like mental just gymnastics that he does
realization,
internally.
and just like say, hey,
And it ends with Rei naked on top of him.
Yeah.
In a position that you could assume he is inserted inside of her while laying down. And then they just have a very casual conversation.
Yeah.
Huh.
A lot of confusing sexual mom stuff.
Yeah, a lot of mom stuff everywhere.
Yeah, so that happens, but then again, that dissipates, and then we're cut to what we presume is the real world,
right?
Which is destroyed. Mm-hmm. The seas are red, the sky is red, buildings are crumbling. You know, they're on he's on a beach, and who's next to him but a somehow alive Asuka?
Yes,
with battle scars,
which means that. At the end of we can assume that red liquid is LCL.
Yes.
We can assume that everybody has already, conjoined into one being.
Yeah.
And we see
both of them,
Asuka and Shinji, as possibly the only two people that rejected instrumentality.
Yeah, we don't know for certain, but we're at least like in that area, we can assume they are.
Yes. What I really like about those scenes, I think those scenes are beautiful. Yeah. They're so artistically amazing.
Yes.
And also like the piece de resistance for me, was not like the, everything going on like Asuka and like Shinji and also like the Red Sea. It was the mass-produced Evas in cross form.
Yes.
Grayed out, impaled into the ground.
Yeah, that was great.
That was just cool as fuck.
That's just-
I'm not even going to give you an explanation or anything.
Yeah.
That was just really cool.
Sometimes that's the thing about Eva. Sometimes it's just very cool.
Yes, and half of Rey's head is just kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
It was just awesome. And for one time in the show, no cicadas.
So you're saying you're totally in favor of the third impact because it wiped out the cicadas?
Yeah, I'm pretty down with the third impact.
Well, I'm glad to know.
But you know, joking aside, it's just very quiet.
It's dead silent, which I love. Yeah,
Completely
tension.
quiet, which is perfect.
Yeah, that's the thing. Ava exceeds in building tension. And it's a very tense moment when Shinji's awake and realizes, wait, how is Asuka alive next to me? Mm-hmm. And he gets a little mad about this fact. And then he thinks, you know, because the scenes that we discussed earlier played out where he's blaming Asuka for like not helping him. Mm-hmm. And of course, Shinji's a little confused, so he has no idea what's going on. As the audience, we're kind of clued in because she had some tape on her arm, and there was a great scene where she got a spear through the eye.
Yes,
of her Ava.
That's right.
And like she's holding her own eye, which I think starts bleeding.
It's patched up a little bit.
Yeah, so she's wearing an eye patch, which later became an iconic image of Asuka with the eye patch. Shinji, not knowing what to do, hops right on top of her and starts strangling her.
Yeah.
And then we don't know what's going on because we don't know if Asuka's actually dead or not. A soft hand rises up. Asuka caresses Shinji's poor face. He lets go, collapses on top of her, and starts bawling his eyes out because he's so confused. And in his mind, he killed maybe the only person left with him in the world.
Yeah.
And it's great in every version where Shinji's just crying. Asuka's looking at the sky, emotionless, and then looks down at him with a very stern glare. And the dub, at least, she just goes, disgusting. And then the movie does the best thing ever. It cuts to white with end in the lower right corner, and the movie's just over.
Yep.
No credits, nothing. It's just over.
That's the whole thing.
That's just over. I love that's why they put the credits in the middle.
Yep.
Because the movie just cuts and ends, and you're left again with more questions.
Yes.
Right when you think Ava's about to end, you're going to understand it. Nope.
So many questions. And I think at least there is a lot of speculation out there about like why Shinji chokes Asuka.
Right.
And why that is. I think you put a very good explanation on it. Is he's just kind of trying to gauge like what's reality, what's not reality. Like, is
he's still
like,
pissed
why
at
is
her.
she alive?
Exactly. He's confused.
But the disgusting,
horny.
But the disgusting part, I completely understand.
Yeah.
Because in that kind of mind meld that everybody had together, it seemingly, like even in the last 2 episodes of the series, it seemingly feels like everybody just learns everything about everybody. And everything about everybody's mind, you know?
I could definitely see something like that.
Which means that Asuka probably picked up that Shinji jacked off.
Well, no, but Asuka knew that beforehand. There's a great scene earlier on where she basically it's back on the train car where Shinji cuts to and everybody's going through like the huge emotional climax.
Yeah, that train car. Oh my god.
And Asuka says in the movie, she goes, "I know you've been jerking off to me."
Yeah.
So
which means that it happened more than once.
You know, we don't know that for sure, but it could have happened more than.
It seems like it. It seems like it.
Well, but Asuka was still mad back in the original series when Shinji almost snuck a kiss, but then pulled back.
Yeah.
Pervert.
Oh my god.
It was great.
And then, like, as I kind of got privy to the theory that Asuka and Shinji actually had sex at one point in the series.
Yeah, there was a big theory floating around.
Rewatching the end of Eva was really good for that because I saw some scenes where I was like, you know what?
It could have happened.
It seems like it. Yeah.
It seems,
you know,
to me, I think that's a very plausible theory.
Yeah.
That they went boinkski at some point.
Boinkski.
And then just their natural conflict that arises between the two of them. That's a very natural like catalyst where they have sex and they just don't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
Because they're both confused, broken children. And that's the most engaging part, really. These are children going through all this. And I don't remember last time I've cared this much about characters, let alone child characters.
I agree.
In media.
I agree. And, at the end of the whole movie, I was just honestly confused as to how the whole movie could not be repurposed as an ad for Hawaiian Punch.
Sorry, that was me slamming the table. You know what? I've never once in my life desired Hawaiian Punch. Like, actually, like, really wanted. I've had it, of course, hundreds of times.
Yeah.
I never sought it out, but now I fucking want Hawaiian
I kind of
Punch.
want to think of Hawaiian Punch right about now.
Actually, how does vodka cranberry sound?
That sounds actually quite nice.
What is some vodka
Drink
cranberry?
some LCLs.
That's orange. So what would an LCL cocktail be? I'm confused.
Can I get an LCL red? But the thing is, like, they're all orange, right? But then it's red. Then the C's red.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, that's a little
It's like,
confusing.
what is that? Like, what's the color continuity over here? Red looks better. It does look better for the image, I think.
It looks better for the end of the world image.
Yeah,
If
it
it was
does.
just orange, it'd be a little too much.
Yeah, because then you also have, like, Ray's red eyes that he, like,
exactly.
pops out of at the end, too, and stuff.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's some wild shit. But the movie in total,
Mm-hmm.
obviously holds up. The animation was significantly better than the series.
because they had the time and the budget.
Yeah, it was very good.
It was beautiful. I would go as far as to say watching Evangelion is like a journey to get to the movie in a lot of ways.
It is.
Because, like, that movie, I was only 45 minutes in when I went on my mount and gave it a 10 out of 10. I'm like, it can't do any wrong here.
Yeah. And there's also something that I thought of that I'm sure a lot of people have thought of
Go ahead.
before. Like, I'm sure I'm not the first person to ever think about this,
of course.
but
What if
we
you
talked
are?
about it could be, but we talked about the movie being supplemental to the
Yes.
to the show, right?
Yes.
And that, like, you know, episode 25 and 26, like, this is what's happening when that's
Yeah,
happening. in 25 and
a more
26.
direct and literal version.
I was thinking that the end, at least, because the end of the series is so like, Shinji is just happy, right?
Yes.
And everybody's like, woohoo, you did it, Shinji, and stuff like that,
yeah.
and then the show ends, right?
Yeah, you beat depression, essentially.
The movie is, well, okay, so the end of the series is him being happy, and the end of the movie is him being kind of depressed. But what I was thinking was that
It's a bittersweet.
the end of the show
Yeah.
is him accepting instrumentality.
I think he accepted it.
And the end of the movie is him not accepting instrumentality.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I kind of have thought between the two of them, because it seems like very different, because the end of the show, it seems like he accepted instrumentality and he is happy because he kind of is in that space with all the people that he likes and kind of being able to be one with the pack.
See, okay.
But in the movie, it seems like he rejects instrumentality, which is ultimately a better decision for him.
right.
But he's depressed.
Yeah, that wasn't my interpretation. My interpretation was, I feel like the end of the very last scene of the movie,
Yeah.
was kind of a way to ground it a little bit, because I think maybe who knows, Anno might have felt the ending of the series was a little too happy, because that is a nice thing, because it very much took place in Shinji's mind. The way I saw it is that he rejected instrumentality and realized, I do have a place in this world. I'm strong enough to, like, be on my own now. The end of Eva kind of almost slaps Shinji in the face for it, if that makes any sense. Where they're saying, all right, you think you're tough now? You think you're a big boy? Here's your near unconscious lover, possibly.
Yeah.
Lover / surrogate sister. She's the only one left. What do you do, punk?
Right.
And then he crumbles immediately. Because
Yes.
Shinji, he had the strength. The question is, though, because in my mind, End of Eva kind of left us with a question. Shinji did have the strength to reject instrumentality. Does he have the strength to keep on living?
Yeah.
That was my interpretation.
Yeah. And no, I think I agree with that. But all I'm saying is that it doesn't match up with the series
Oh, it doesn't.
as the other parts of it do.
No, it does.
Because
They're totally different.
Because tonally, yes, but also because if you're kind of following it by, like, this is what happened versus this is what happened at the same time, the ends are two completely different things.
But the thing is, I feel like I got the end of the TV series in the scene right before the end.
Interesting.
With Yui telling him any place can be
so
paradise.
you're saying that the end of Evangelion, the last, like, scene, is an addition
Yes.
to the end of
Yes.
everything else.
Yes.
That I can understand.
Yeah, that's
I can
that's
get.
my understanding.
That I can agree with, because I feel like that is just such a separate piece of things.
It's so separate in terms of tone, and
Yes.
the events are played out the same. But I feel like it's almost like a slap in the face in a way.
It is kind of like you thought, like, you can, do it alone.
Do it now.
Go do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Go do it. Like you said you could, so
But
go
I
do
kind
it.
of like that bittersweetness where the movie challenges you. It's like, because it's a twist on the original ending in a lot of ways, where the original ending is very positive in a sense, where it's like, hey, you can have the strength to live on.
Yeah.
Well, the series says you can make the choice to live on. The movie asks you, can you do it?
Yeah, right.
Which is very different. It's a very nuanced addition.
It's saying it versus doing it.
Exactly, which I love.
And that's the thing.
Because and so many people, I mean, even like going it back and bringing it down to the dumbest level, I'm a creative. And my questions are always, can I even if you have a great idea, can you pull it off? In that a very similar way, it's that kind of question. Like, hey, can you really overcome depression? Can you really do it? It's hard. Try right now. I love that.
And the funny part is they're like, try right now, but everybody else is fluid.
Yeah. Everyone else except for Asuka
is liquid.
But then again, if I was that age and I had Asuka next to me, it's like, well, babe, we got to make up.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're all we got.
What happened to your eye?
But I think that's another kind of oversight that I thought at the end of the movie, right? Is that Shinji and Asuka reject instrumentality,
right,
which is why they are not fluid right now.
Yeah, they're not goo.
But like, ain't there anybody else out there that could have just done that too? You know? I mean, it just kind of feels weird to me that Shinji and Asuka, you know, obviously they are the characters, but like nobody else.
Well, the thing is, we don't see anybody else. That doesn't mean there was no one else.
We don't, but there's a whole lot of fluid and not a lot of people.
A whole lot of fluid, but then again, there's a whole lot of ocean too. So
there is a whole lot of ocean.
Could have just died in the ocean. Who knows?
Could be other people out there.
There could be other people. You know, Japan's a small island.
But nobody in Tokyo 3, I guess. That's for sure.
Tokyo 3.
It seems
maybe the people in Tokyo 3 were just so beaten and dragged down by like all these terrible things that happened to them. They might have accepted instrumentality just because it was easier.
Yeah.
I never thought about that until I said it right now. Cool. So there's a lot of that's the reason why I love Ava. And I remember I said this to you right before we started the very beginning of this little series here. This is one of the few times in this podcast we'll have the ability to really talk about our interpretations of an ending.
That's true. That's true. Because there are so many interpretations.
Yeah.
There are so many opinions.
Yeah.
But there are no answers.
That's the thing. There's very little answers.
And that's the thing that I love and both frustrate me about this.
And whenever they ask Anno for answers, his answers only create more questions.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people for decades were wondering, for literally 2 decades, they're wondering, why do they explode into crosses? Is that a symbol? People are like, it's symbolic for this, and that, right? Anno's actual response, no, I thought they looked cool.
Yep. And that was the whole thing.
And that's the thing. I'm going to leave. I have to. If we're talking about Evangelion and my whole thoughts on the series, including the original series and the movie, is Ava just a wonderful, beautiful accident? Mm-hmm. Was it the creation of a guy who, by a lot of documentation, was going through a very rough time himself, was struggling a lot with a lot of issues? Was it just the vision of a madman and his team that turned out into a masterpiece? That's my question. Mm-hmm. Because the series is very well constructed. And if you watch the beginning of it again, you'll notice they build on seeds planted. And to this day, I'm still confused about some of them because in the very first episode, Masato says some remark towards Shinji. He's like, boy, with someone for such a cute face, you're really frowning a lot. And that gets really confusing when she offers to sleep with him.
Yes.
And it's like, wait, okay, what was her intention there? Is her thought process, oh, I have to help him, but all I know how to do is sleep with him? Or was her thing like, well, this is going to help him, I might as well have fun with this.
Right.
That's the thing. There's so many little threads like that are existent in the show. So the show is well constructed.
Yeah.
But was the whole thing this wonderful accident
I
that
think
happened?
I think it very much could have been. I don't know. At least in like the kind of research that I've been doing and kind of looking at like kind of what surrounded making this show and kind of making the movie itself.
They had so many budgetary troubles.
They had a lot of budgetary troubles, and a lot of people suggest that the last few episodes are the way they are is because like the budget ran out or something.
And the rumor that Anno had a total mental breakdown by the end of the series.
Right, which I've heard a lot about him. Maybe not necessarily having a breakdown in some instances. I have heard that.
Yeah.
But the thing that I've most commonly heard is that he just got so fed up and depressed with like society and he just decided to say, fuck it, I'm just going to make my message through this show.
Yep.
And that's why this show changed so dramatically.
Yes.
Which kind of is a question that we'll never have the answer to.
Never have
is
a
like,
concrete answer.
Is why? How did the show change because it had to change, or did it change because he made it change?
Exactly. But the thing is, it's hard to say because the show, like, the change isn't abrupt. It's very gradual.
Yes.
They built on all the seeds they planted from the very first episode till the end.
Yep.
There's all these reoccurring things that keep coming back. But I don't know if it was intentional or not.
Yep. I don't know either. And
There's so many lines and instances that could have just been throwaways, but my God.
And I think that's the best part about it is that it's really just you don't know.
Yeah.
All you have really is the message of the art itself, and you don't really have any of the detail around it. You don't have the implications. You just have what it is saying.
Yep.
And what it said is a hell of a lot. In terms of being able to deal with life, being able to be depressed and anxious and still be able to find a semblance of joy in this world.
Being able to overcome it and find happiness.
Which is beautiful. And
it gets me every time.
And, you know, I can complain about how I need to know the origins of Sele every day. And I do. But I completely understand that at the end of the day, like, that's not the point.
It's not the point of the show.
And the point of the show is to talk about real human emotion and talk about people.
Yep.
And how to be a person in this world and the implications behind being a person in this world and living your life.
And it's just a beautiful message to end on. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if we can take any more talking about Ava because I'm looking at you, and if I look the way you do right now, oh boy, we need some water and a meal.
Yes, we do. But, you know, thanks everybody for listening to our ramblings.
On this rambling about a series that deeply impacted us.
And of course, like, as we conclude, like, we had our few episodes on Neon Genesis Evangelion, the series. We had this episode on the End of Evangelion.
They both hold up. Go watch them.
And in total, yes, they both hold up. Go watch them. Incredible time.
Why are you still listening to the podcast? We're ending. Go to Netflix, stream them both right now. If you don't have Netflix, that's just fascinating.
Yeah.
No judgment. That's just like
honestly, like, yeah, good for you at the end of the day. But
then use your friend's Netflix account.
Yes.
And then watch Evangelion.
But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next time.
We'll be back next time talking about something different. Who knows?
Hopefully something just way dumber.
Do we need a dumb palate cleanser?
I need a dumb palate cleanser right about now.
Well, let's pull up our anime apps and go for it.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Love you all. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
It's bad.
Wow, oh my god, what a rousing podcast of anime conversation. Am I right, my compares? Am I right, my weebdom? Anywho, yeah, you can send us a message if you want. Did you like this podcast? Did you hate this podcast? Do you want to kill me? Do you want to drench me in Calaxosaur blood and watch me drink it? That's fine. Just send us an email at badanimepod@gmail.com or DM us on our Instagram at badanimepod, all one word. You can also find us on YouTube as Bad Anime, and you could leave a comment on whatever video you want to leave a comment on. We'll read them all anyways. We don't care. I love you. Kiss, kiss.
In your ear. Podcast Network.